Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it is our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. We here at UUFNN believe that by being and working together, we can bring about justice and build a compassionate community. We welcome all to be part of us, regardless of racial identity, ethnic background, age, economic circumstances, educational achievement, judicial history, immigration status, mental health status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. UUFNN is about compassion and support, not judgment. I'm JJ Lee, and I serve as your worship associate this morning. We at UUFNN love having new people join us for worship, and if that's you, feel free to contact the office or go to our website for more information. You'll see on the slides from time to time some of that information. You can also click on the link in the chat box if you're on Zoom today and sign up for our newsletter that will keep you informed of all the activities here at UUFNN. And for those meeting with us on Zoom, please update your name on screen to help everyone know who you are. And feel free to use the chat box for comments, especially during the prayer and meditation session. Folks on Zoom are invited at the end of our service into small groups for coffee hour. And today you'll have a special guest, Reverend Karen. We have returned to our time of greeting each other as an important and connecting part of our worship. You have many choices, of course, in how you will engage in this old experience anew. You can give each other a handshake, you can do elbow touches, you can do high fives, whatever you feel comfortable with. Folks on Zoom, you can wave, gesture in your online window politely, make a sign to hold up. Again, whatever fits your way of greeting. Let the greeting begin.
Death in the family. Yeah, my brother-in-law. COPD.
Wherever you are worshiping from today, thank you for being with us this morning. Welcome.
Beauty What a gorgeous day on which to gather today. We may be a little bit small in number due to the snow, but we are mighty in spirit, are we not? And toward that end, with the events of the last few days, particularly last night, some of us might be feeling some things like celebration, hope, relief. Maybe perhaps some folks are disappointed and didn't go their way. But we want to bring all of our joy and all of that into this room this morning. And we go forward from here. Toward that end, it's a wonderful day to thank and honor and celebrate our veterans. If you are a veteran, would you rise in body or spirit so that we can say thank you to you for your service? If you are family of a veteran, would you rise in body or spirit with your veteran so that we can say thank you to you for your sacrifice and your service member as well? And so we come fully present, body, mind, spirit, heart, breath, to the opportunities of this time that we have together this morning. I'm going to invite Nathan to light our chalice for us, to open our service. As I offer these chalice lighting words. Beloved, you are stronger than you think. You are more creative than you are willing to admit. And you are more courageous than you dare to believe. It is in community together that we discover who we are. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening song as we ponder together a couple of questions.
Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
This is the time in our service when we have the opportunity to share our bounty with each other. It is through your generosity and dedication that we here at UUFNN are self-sufficient. By each of us stepping forward and offering what we can, we provide a support for all that we do for each other and the wider community. Please share what bounty you can today by texting 73256. That's 73256. Type UUFNN in the message box and hit send. You can also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno 89511. Or if you want to simplify the process, you can sign up for automatic giving. Contact Carol at the office for the authorization form. We share the plate this month to benefit Urban Roots. The mission of this organization is to change the way communities eat and learn through hands-on gardening education. Urban Roots prioritizes historically marginalized populations by targeting Title I schools and nonprofits. nonprofits that serve vulnerable communities, including Native American population, Head Start, and formerly homeless residents. Our generosity will help enhance their kitchen with teaching space and restrooms, appliances, tables, and teaching materials. Also, many students who participate receive scholarships to defray costs. Your gifts will contribute to that fund as well. Now let our offering begin. Please join me as we bless these offerings. To the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy, we dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings.
We're going to need some rock clapping along with this one. You'll know when. Not that kind. Hit it. Because the storm is passing over, right? Encourage my soul.
That is just absolutely my favorite anthem for special occasions such as today. Thank you, choir. It's kind of hard to just settle into a very different sermon today. So I'm going to ask us to take a deep breath. Let it out with a sigh if you like. There's much work to be done without and within. So we settle back into the work that is before us to do. We're operating from a theme this fall and this year of nurturing our connections. And last week I began 2 parts on nurturing our connections with self. And we are called to do this very personal work, this spiritual work, to nurture our healing path, a path to more joy and health and self-acceptance, more connection. It's an inside job. It's intellectual work, it's heart work, it's soul work, it's the work of spirit. We cannot be more connected to other people than we are to ourselves. It's not narcissistic doing this work, it's not belly button gazing, but increasing our awareness, doing the work of awareness so that we can be more connected and do our work in the world. It's life-saving work. I'm drawing heavily on the work of Dr. Brene Brown, one of my personal heroes, and some others. And today we're focusing on something that can be a barrier to healthy self-esteem. It can be a stumbling block and stymie our path to discovering more serenity and joy. And that is perfectionism. How many of us maybe struggle just a little bit with some perfectionism in our lives? Anybody besides me? Anybody? Okay. A few of us know what I'm talking about. It's fascinating to me that perfectionism happens to be one of the called out characteristics of white supremacy. It's that idea that there's only one right way to do things, so we're going to do it that way. That's one of the hallmarks of white supremacy. Perfectionism is also very closely related to shame. We talked about shame last week. If you missed that one, and it will help you connect the dots if you watch that one in addition to today. Perfectionism is somehow easier to talk about than shame because we kid ourselves that perfectionism is code for I'm going to be the best I can be, right? But it's really way more toxic than that. There is a very significant relationship between shame and perfectionism. And so we're going to watch just a short video of Dr. Brene Brown because I like the way she fleshes this out.
Some of the most common examples of armor. You were talking about the armor that we put on to protect ourselves.
Yeah, I think the big 3 are perfectionism, numbing, foreboding joy, and there's also cynicism, cool, and being critical. So let's look at them. Perfectionism. How many of you struggle with perfectionism a little bit? Okay, so my favorite story is that someone sent me an email one time that said, hey, I know you have a book on shame, not so interested in that, but if you ever write on perfectionism, I can't wait. So here's the secret. When perfectionism is driving, shame is always riding shotgun, and fear is the annoying backseat driver.
Say it again.
When perfectionism is driving, shame is always riding shotgun. We struggle with perfectionism in areas where we feel most vulnerable to shame. Does that make sense? So we're all comfortable saying, yeah, I'm a little perfectionistic, which is code for like I do things really well. But I'm not comfortable saying I have shame. But perfectionism, what is that? I call it the 20-ton shield. Here's what perfectionism really is. It's a way of thinking that says this: if I look perfect, live perfect, work perfect, I can avoid or minimize criticism, blame, and ridicule.
Whoa, that's good.
All perfectionism is the 20-ton shield that we carry around hoping that it'll keep us from being hurt. When in truth, what it does is it keeps us from being seen. And so we had a great talk about what's the difference between perfectionism.
Yes, because somebody on my staff had the nerve to tell me that I was a perfectionist. And I absolutely denied that. And you stood by me. Thank you very much. Because I'm not a perfectionist. I'm a person who strives for excellence and requires excellence. There is a difference, is there not?
There is a difference. Here's the difference. Because sometimes I'm a healthy striver.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm a perfectionist. It depends on if I've got a worthiness crunch going on. So healthy striving is internally focused. It's I want to do this and be the best I can be. Perfectionism is not about what I want. Perfectionism is exactly what will people think.
Yes.
So how many of you are driven by what will people think? So I'll give you a great example. So while we're taping these, my son's first day at school. And so, I'll be home tomorrow, right? It's not a big deal, but it's what will people think?
Is he in the first grade?
Second.
Second. Okay.
So he is monogrammed from toe to toe. His haircut, everything's laid out. His lunch will have some kind of vegetable fruit ratio that's perfect. Because I am struggling a little bit.
Because you're here with me and not...
And what will people think?
What will people think? They're going to think, there she is up there with Oprah.
Yeah. Talking about how to be a good parent
How to
in her
be a good
fancy
parent.
boots.
Yes, in her fancy boots. Yeah.
Right. But so I don't think, so the thing is, you can't ever do anything brave if you're wearing the straitjacket of what will people think.
Some good food for thought, eh? So I think it's helpful to think about what perfectionism is not. So it turns out perfectionism is not striving to be your best. Perfectionism is not about healthy achievement and growth. Perfectionism is the belief that if we are perfect, which is impossible, if we look perfect, act perfect, we can minimize or avoid the pain of blame, judgment, shame, what other people think. Like Dr. Brown was saying, it's a shield. Perfectionism is not self-improvement. It is at its core about trying to earn approval and acceptance. Most of us as perfectionists were raised being praised for achievement and performance, grades, manners, rule following, people pleasing, our appearance, sports. And somewhere along the way, we adopt this debilitating belief system that I am what I accomplish. I am what I do, not I am who I am, which is worthy and beautiful at my core, but I am what I do. And so, perfectionism is other-focused rather than self-focused. Are you getting that difference? So understanding the difference between healthy striving, like she was saying, and perfectionism is really key to laying down that shield and picking up your life. The research shows that perfectionism actually hampers success. In fact, it is often the path to depression, anxiety, substance abuse, all of those. Just like shame that we talked about last week, right? And so we get so afraid to put anything out in the world because we're afraid it's going to be imperfect. It's also all of the dreams that we don't follow because of our fear of failing, our fear of making mistakes and disappointing other people. It's terrifying to risk when we're perfectionistic because our self-worth is on the line. So perfectionism is a destructive and addictive belief system that fuels this thought. If I look perfect, live perfectly, and do everything perfectly, I can minimize and avoid the pain of shame and judgment and blame. It's self-destructive simply because there is no such thing as perfect. It's unattainable. And really, what it means to be human is to live into and embrace the beauty of our imperfections. That's what makes us whole people. Even if we could be perfect, it would be one-dimensional and boring, right? So it gets into this addictive cycle because when we do experience that shame and judgment and blame because we weren't perfect, then we believe we weren't perfect enough. And so it just keeps going in this really unhealthy cycle. So feeling shamed and judged and blamed, just like being so not perfect, is part of the human experience. Perfectionism actually increases the odds that we're going to experience those things. So to overcome perfectionism, which this is lots and lots of lifelong work, it's not a destination, but we have to be able to acknowledge our vulnerabilities and to experience shame and judgment and blame from time to time. We have to develop self-resilience and practice self-compassion. So when we become more loving and compassionate with ourselves, we begin to practice shame resilience, and we can begin to embrace our perfectionisms. In the process of our embracing our perfectionism, that's where we find our truest gifts, which are courage, compassion, and connection. Now, probably it's a fallacy to think that some people are perfectionists and some people are not. It's most likely a continuum, as Dr. Brown says in her research. So for some people, it may emerge only when we're feeling particularly vulnerable. For others, it can be compulsive and chronic and debilitating, similar to addictions. So folks who are working with this, trying to move out of perfectionism, and hopefully have made some progress on that, it's where we can, in a tender and honest way, without shame and fear, speak about our imperfections and embrace them and extend compassion and love them. It's also where we can be slow to judge ourselves and others. The belief that we're doing the best we can. And so, another authority on this topic, Dr. Kristen Neff, offers the antidote to perfectionism is self-compassion. A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of such moments can change the course of your life. I don't know about you, but I'm in for that. How about you? Dr. Kristen Neff says that there's 3 principal components to self-compassion. The first is self-kindness, being warm and understanding toward ourselves the way that we would be with our good friends and loved ones, even when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate. The second thing is understanding our common humanity. Common humanity recognizes that suffering and feelings of personal inadequacy are part of the shared human experience. We really are all in the same boat with this. It's not just you, it's not just me. We're all in the same boat in our common humanity of being imperfect. And the third element, Dr. Neff says, is mindfulness, taking a balanced approach to negative emotions so that the feelings are neither suppressed or exaggerated. Mindfulness, meditation, really being where we are. There are cultures around the world, interestingly enough, who embrace this concept of imperfection. Artists and craftsmen of these cultures will deliberately introduce flaws into their work to remind themselves and others that flaws are an integral part of being human. In the Navajo culture, rug weavers will leave a little imperfection along the borders of a line as this reminder. And so, in so doing, they believe that the weaver entwines part of her being into the cloth of the blanket. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but do you see the inset? Can you see this line that's up here? That's what they're talking about. So there's a deliberate flaw or line, and maybe you have seen these before and thought they were mistakes, but actually they're intentional as a way of honoring our flaws and honoring imperfection. This happens even in architecture. In the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., there are places where it's not completely symmetrical. There are places of many of the mosques in the Arab world where there are architectural flaws as a reminder that things cannot be perfect. Humanity cannot be perfect. And so we honor the beauty, yes, the beauty of flaws and imperfection. There is beauty in our imperfections. And so as you go about this week, I'm going to invite you to look for places where you have a tendency toward perfection. Remind yourself it's all about self-compassion, our common humanity. We're all in this flawed, imperfect boat together. But notice and see if you can make some adjustments. I'm going to invite us to do a little ritual today. Hopefully you received an index card when you came in. If you didn't, you can just raise your hand and David has them and can hand you one. I'm going to invite you to take a moment of reflection and think about a place where you would like to take a step, just a little step. We're not going to fix everything all at once, but where you might take a step in your life toward scaling back some perfectionism or some shame. Maybe it's a letting go. Maybe it's something you want to do to help you with this. Maybe do some more research and reading. Who knows? Maybe some therapy. Maybe whatever it is that you know what it is. We each know what it is for each of us that is our next step. So I'm going to invite you to take a few moments of reflection. Write on the card your next step to addressing perfectionism and shame in order to create more joy and more connection. And then when you're ready, you're invited to come and place it as an act of letting go or an act of making that commitment in our special ritual box. It's difficult and courageous work. And sometimes it's easier just to stay stuck. Blessings on our courageous work. And so we enter into our time of community prayer and meditation, joining heart, mind, spirit, all of the sensations in our bodies. And we join together in these moments of reflection. We give thanks today for the change in seasons. We give thanks for the beauty of the snow. We give thanks for the touch of the cool breeze on our skin. We give thanks for amazing connections of community, where we can look in a mirror and find ourselves in each other's eyes and discover who we are becoming. We give thanks for these moments of quiet reflection, and those who are on Zoom are invited to record what is on your hearts today in the chat. We give thanks today for this particular congregation's calling. We give thanks for the calling of each of us, reminding us that there is work to be done in our world. There is healing to be done. There is love to be shared. And we renew our commitments that we are the hands and the feet and the bodies and the hearts and the voices of love in our world. May it be so. And we offer our gesture one to another, one hand on the heart, palm extended forward, as our way of saying, I see you, I hear you, I see the work that you're doing, I see your courage. We are all in this together. Blessed be, and amen.
I will change your name. You shall no longer be called wounded, outcast, lonely or afraid. I
Whoops, left my glasses over there. But I double space and use 14 type, so I can do this. Thank you for joining us this morning. Just a few announcements before we close our time together. First, as I said earlier, after our service today, Reverend Karen will be joining Zoom folks for online coffee hour. Keep an eye out for the email about our service next week, recognizing Transgender Day of Remembrance. If you're not receiving these emails, fill out the online card on our website, uufnn.org. Reno Posse, thanks you for helping to feed at least 125 hungry neighbors weekly. Couldn't do it without you. As usual, Reno Posse needs individually packed juice and snack bars. These fill out the meals and add important calories for the guests. Donations can be dropped off in the bins at UUFNN between the two buildings, Wednesdays by 12:30, or at the Reno Buddhist Center on Wednesdays between 1:30 and 3. You can also email posse@uufnn.org for a home pickup. Reno Posse always welcomes new volunteers. For questions or volunteer interest, send an email to posse@uufnn.org. Thanks for your help.
I will indeed be joining you folks on Zoom very shortly. And I wanted to just highlight our services for next Sunday, plural services. As JJ mentioned, in the evening, we'll be having our Transgender Day of Remembrance Vigil in this room. Lots of congregations from all over Reno have been invited and are coming. Our choir is singing. Would invite you to be here and participate in that beautiful service that is very important for our community and for allies to stand with the transgender community and remember the acts of violence that have been perpetrated on transgender people. The morning will be a celebration of transgenderedness called, it just fell out of my brain, but it is Centering Trans Hope. Centering Trans Hope in the morning. A couple of our beloveds will be telling their powerful stories. We'll talk about how we can continue to grow in being allies, and so very important, both services next Sunday, 10:30 and 6:30. And doing the work within or without, let's keep on moving forward. Please rise in body or spirit.
Get up, y'all! Here, no.
Never turning back.
it is our hope that you have received something that you needed from this time together today. Please remain standing in body or spirit for our benedictions. Beloved, know without a shadow of a doubt that you are imperfect beauty in our world, called to love, to heal, to make a difference. May we go forward and do likewise. Blessed be, amen, and namaste. Hi, everybody. I think you can